See, we'll see the difference between today attribute and parameter. Okay. See, these parameter are values which are stored by the container. These parameter are values which are stored by the container. How many parameters you know? There are three types of parameters. One is the request parameter, other one is the config parameter, other one is the context parameter. So there are three parameters. You got three parameters. One is a request parameter. Second one would be config parameter. The third one would be servlet context parameter. But all the parameters are set by what? Whom? Container. But sometimes developer will want to set the values. Okay, developer he himself wants to set the values. So that's why we've been given attributes, and there are three attributes. Okay, so which are the three attributes? You got request attribute. We are not covered this still, we'll be covering it. Second would be context attribute. I've shown you this with an example. And the third one would be session attribute. So developer has got three scopes. So developer has got three scopes to store values. And these values are stored by whom? Container stores parameter values. So that's a huge difference between what? Attribute and a parameter. Okay. So here which method you use to set the value? Use the method called as set attribute. That's it. If you say set attribute, you store the value. When you say get attribute, you get the value. Simple. Clear? So that's the difference between a parameter and attribute. But some more differences are there. I'll be showing you the request attribute today. I'll be showing you the request attribute today. So just to introduce that. So all these scopes you should know. And when you start writing your applications, clearly you start understanding which scope you use, how. Clear? So these are all concepts again what we are covering. See this scopes in servlet. A very important interview question. What are the different scopes the developer has in servlet? The developer can store values in three scope. One is the request scope, session scope, context scope. We can use the set attribute method to store the values inside these objects. We use the set attribute method. We can also use remove attribute, get attribute method. Set attribute is used for storing the value. Get attribute and remove attribute you use for what? Remove attribute means removing the value. Okay, get attributes to get the value. So that's how you use these methods. So these three methods are there in all the three objects. Request.set attribute, request.get attribute, request.remove attribute. Same way session.set attribute, session.get attribute, session.remove attribute. Same way context.set attribute, remove attribute and get attribute. Okay, fine. So now request scope. Now what is the difference? Means how do you decide or how do you judge to put which value into which scope? Very simple. You got the answer already. If you store data in the request scope, then we can access the data only within that request only. Okay, the next request will not get that value. And next, we cannot. Okay, if we store the data in the session scope, we can access the data across various requests, multiple requests of the same user. That is the key point here, of the same user. Other users are not allowed to access this data. But if you store data in the context scope, then that can be accessed across multiple requests and by multiple users. Done? There's difference between parameter and attribute. These are the important entry points you have to give. Yes, there are three scopes for parameter. Which are they? Request, config and context. Three scopes. Request parameter are always set when the request comes from the user. Request parameters are always set when the request comes from the user. Means when the request object gets created, it will retrieve all the values from the HTTP request body and stores it into the request object. Now these two parameters, how do you store? By configuring in web.xml. So request parameters are stored when the request object gets created. Context and config parameters are stored when you configure in web.xml file. So it's up to you. Okay, whether you want to configure which one, context and config, else leave it. If you want any value, configure it in web.xml and those values will be available in the corresponding object, either in config or in context. But for attribute there are 3 scopes. What are the 3 scopes? Request, context and session. I have completed context and session. Now I will be completing which one? Request I will be covering. And next, parameters are read only. They cannot be modified. You cannot modify a parameter. Always what will you say? Request.get parameter, that's it. Or config.get init parameter, or context.get init parameter. Other than that, nothing you cannot say. You cannot say request.remove parameter. There is no such method. Means you cannot remove a parameter. That's what I am trying to say. They are read only. You cannot remove parameters and all that. But attributes are read, write and modifiable. Okay, you can read it also, remove it also, anything you can do. Fine, next. We can use the XML file for storing the values in config and context, but here you have to use what? Always set attribute method only. And lastly, parameter values are set, means are set by the container, attribute values are set by developer. Return type is always string, their return type is always object. Now this is another thing, means why return type is always string if you have a question, because the parameter values what you store in these 3 objects are always of type string. The values what you store in these 3 objects, parameter values, request parameter, context parameter and config parameter, they are always of type string only. That is why it will always return you string. But you can store different objects. Where? As attributes. You will be seeing it. You can store TOs, transfer objects. Okay. So you can store any type of object as attribute. Not only string object. You can store any type of object. Integer object or string object or any type of object you can store as attribute. So that is why the return type of get attribute is always object. So you have to typecast it. Clear? So these are the prime differences between parameter and attributes. Clear this? So I'll give an example. Plenty of examples you'll be seeing now. We'll start using attributes. Okay, plenty you'll be seeing, not 1, 2. You don't have to worry, all your questions will be answered. Fine. Put the next heading as request dispatcher now. So request dispatcher is one more interface in what you know? Java Xstart servlet package. Let's see. First see the doc. It contains only 2 methods. It's also one more interface in the servlet API. Yeah, and it is containing what? Only 2 methods. One is forward method and the other one is include method. What is the argument of forward? Request and response. What is the argument of include? Request and response. Clear? So first I'll be teaching you forward, then I'll be going with include. 100% interview question. 100% difference between forward and include method. Understood? 100 what? 1000 you take. 1000%. Clear? So yes. So if you want to write these 2 points, forward method. This method forwards the request from one resource to another resource. Forward. These 2 points you write. I'll give you example. Now next one is include. This method includes one resource into another resource. And differences if you want to write, I'll start explaining now. Which one? First I'll give an example for forward. Then I'll give an example for include. Then we'll see the differences. First I'll give the examples. Clear? Only if you know, then you can compare and see the difference now. So without knowing, how will you see the difference now? So first we'll see examples, then we'll see the difference. But this is only the notes, nothing more is there. Yeah? So fine. See, sometimes it so happens, get the scenario here. I'll make a request on HTML. This one would be enter.html. It is in the servlet. Okay. See, today I'll be covering most of the interview questions. All are interview questions what I'll be covering now. And almost all will be completing even servlet today. This is enter.html. So when you submit this, supposing I enter my name. Enter name. You'll ask the user to enter. Just a second, let me draw it neatly. Too much to write. So you will the request. Now you know how to do the mapping and all that, but the request will come to one servlet called as first servlet. Done. Now what the first servlet is going to do? It will forward the request to another servlet. So this is how the request forwarding will happen. You got the request. You are not giving back the response. Again that will be forwarded to what? Another servlet. Done. And finally the second servlet will give back the response. Till now what was happening? You are working with the request was coming to one servlet, you are giving back the response. But now the case will be what? The first servlet will accept the request and forward it to what? The next servlet. This is how it will happen. Understood? So here you have to understand. In the first servlet, I think, see the diagram is perfectly correct, there is no change, but I will write some code here. So that's why I will clear it and I will draw it again. Okay? Or if you will try to manage if possible. See, this is your do get method or whatever it is. You got request and response. Now how do you send the request from one servlet to another servlet is the question. Very simple. So that is when you use the request dispatcher. So this code I will write here now in first servlet. So I will write request dispatcher RD is equal to any variable name you want to give. We are studying this interface only now. Request dispatcher RD is equal to request dot get request dispatcher, and you have to give the, see how do you invoke a servlet? How do you invoke a servlet? A servlet can be only invoked by providing a URL pattern. Remember that. Okay. Assuming that the second servlet is having a URL pattern called as SCD. Okay. SCD. So that you have to give here. And apart from that, you have to write RD dot forward request comma response. So this is the code you are writing in do get method. Request comma response. Yeah, that's all. Two lines you write, the request to be forwarded from one servlet to another servlet. That's it. Okay. See, understand the concept. Why it is used next. First you have to understand what? Concepts. So all these concepts you require by programming applications. Okay. So we will be applying it. But you have to understand concept. Don't think about why it is used, when it is used, where it is used. All that is not the question now. Just see how it moves now. Are you clear? So then when the request comes, this what will you do now? Request dispatcher RD is equal to request dot get request dispatcher SCD. Just I am writing it here now. RD dot forward request comma response. The same code I have written. So if you write this much, automatically what will happen? You are not giving the response now. You are forwarding the request to other servlet. So it will come here. So it will invoke which one? Do get request comma response. So here you can work normally again and give back the response. Out.println you can do from here, or pw.println will give back the response. So this is how the forwarding works. Clear? So yes, here very interesting concept you have to understand. Now the scope of request and response object. So see, when you made the request to your first servlet, the request and response objects got created, agreed. This is your request object, this is your response object. Clear? When you forward now, the reference of this object only is given to what? So the same request object will be coming to what? Second servlet. That is very crucial now. Second servlet will not get one more new request and response object. Okay. So first servlet will get the new request and response object. Second servlet will get the same request and response object. So if by chance if you have stored any value in the request object, all those values are available where? In request object. I can get the value request.get parameter. This parameter is there, no enemy. I can get it where? Even in the first servlet also. If I am interested, I can get it in second servlet also. So that is how the values get carried. That is very crucial. So from first servlet, the enemy will be moved to second servlet in the request object. Yeah. So now, always remember, now if you are having a question, why I am writing two lines to use request dispatcher? Why can't I write only one line? If you have a question, request dispatcher RD is equal to, if I give the URL, fine. See, it can identify the servlet. The object of the servlet gets created, but the do get method will not get invoked. So that's the reason you will call forward method. As soon as you call forward, what happens? It invokes It invokes the service method of second servlet. Okay, service method will invoke, no, do get or do post like that. So actually you are sending these to us arguments. Remember, the service method will never execute without request and response as arguments. If at all you want the service method or do get or do post to execute, request and response are the mandatory arguments. Okay, so for second servlet, the request and response are not getting created. Why? Because the request is not coming directly to the second servlet. If the request had come directly to second servlet, then it would have got its own copy of request and response object. But since the request is not coming directly to the second servlet, it is coming to first. From first servlet you are only forwarding. So this request and response object will not be there for what? Second servlet. So that is what we are doing. We are forwarding the request first and then we'll send these to arguments. Clear? So this is how it works. I'll just draw another diagram for you to get the clarity. See, supposingly I am having first servlet. This is first servlet. So if the request comes directly from the client, this will have what? Its own request response object. If the request comes directly from the client, again second servlet also will have what? Its own request and response object. Clearly understand the point. And here also do get will execute. But here the question is not this. Yes or no? If this was the question, fine. But the question is not this here. We are trying to forward. That is completely moving on the server side. First side is only forwarding the request to second servlet. That's why these two lines becomes mandatory. Clear? One, you have to tell which servlet you want to execute, because you'll be having multiple servlets there. So you have to tell which servlet you want to execute by giving the URL. Supposingly I am having 5, 6, 7 servlets. That time you have to give the URL, no? So you have to give the URL. That's one thing. The next thing is you have to pass the request and response arguments as arguments. Otherwise, the do get method will not be executed. Are you clear with this? Simple example for this I show you. That's the end of forward. Clear? And here see, I'll just have an attribute. Now one more extra, see, from the user you are getting only name. Supposing I enter Ravi. Ravi will be here. But I want to send one more value to which one? Second servlet. So how do you put another value and send to second servlet now? I can set an attribute. Those values will come dynamically. Supposingly, see, I can get the value from database, like email, example. Email or phone number. I can get these values from database. Means I'll write the query, I'll store it in on string. That value I'll put it into what? Into any scope. We have 3 scopes. Context scope, session scope, request scope. You decide how long you want that value. If you want the value for only one request and response, put it in request object. If you want the same value for the same client in many requests, put it in session object. But if you want the same value for all the clients in any servlet, put it in context object. That's up to you. So I have shown you context and session, but I'll now be showing you request. Very clearly you'll understand the scopes, you don't worry. So just I'll say request dot set attribute, one method. I'll show you the 2 values, just understand. So in the next servlet I can get what? Parameter value also I can get, attribute also value I can get, both. One value I'll get as parameter, other value I'll get as attribute, and I'll give back the response. But once I give back the response, the request object is destroyed. I lose both the request object and response object. So subject becomes deeper like this. Same, we are going to work with the same objects. Which one? The same 6 objects what I taught you. Request, response, config, context, session. Okay, 5 objects we work, but subject becomes deeper like this. That's it. Are you clear? Concept is clear now. Now what do you need? Output, no? Oh, that's it. So again output is concept based, not output based. Done? Example is concept based, not output based. Refer to the 21st example of request dispatcher. Understood? So first one would be the HTML. It's very simple HTML. Nothing is there. Please enter your details, enter your name. So I'll enter the name, the user enters the name, and he'll click login. So it comes to what now? FST. FST means it will be going to what? See the flow first, code you understand. In web.xml, if you see FST is mapped to what? First servlet. So what is the first servlet doing? Very simple. You're not doing any response. Okay. So you can, no need of print writer here. We're not doing any print here. Okay. So fine. Response, this also is not required. So fine, what we are doing? Request dot get parameter. I'm just showing you I can get the value. Which value I'm getting? NME. See this. This is the value. Okay. So NME. Now I'm printing. I'm putting SOP. It will print to the server console. That is okay. Now see, this is the email. But assume that I'm getting it from database or something dynamically. See, values, some values we get from the user. Some values we'll get from database also. Somewhere we'll get the values. So when you start getting so many values, you have to decide in which object you are going to store. Understood? So when you get the values, see the what value the user is giving will be coming as request parameter. Apart from that, you'll be getting many more values from the database, and out of your logic you might have some other value. You'll write on logic, and that logic will yield on result. Okay, so the result or the values from the database. So now you should know where to store it. Clear? So that is why the developer has been given what? 3 scopes. One is the request scope, session scope, and context scope. So you decide where you want to put. Okay, if at all you want to put, use set attribute method. But the difference is big. Request.set attribute means it is available only for single request and response scenario. Understood? But if you put it in session, multiple requests but single user. But if you put it in context scope, all users in any request and in any servlet. Clear? So you decide. So I decide to put the value in request object. So how do I put it? See this? Understood? So set attribute is a method. Email is the which one? Key, something like that, and this is the value. Clear? So this will come dynamically to you. You don't worry. Clear? And I'm forwarding. Request.get RequestDispatcher SCD. What is SCD? URL pattern of second servlet. See this. So it will go now. Done? So then fine. This is how it works. So in second servlet what we are doing? Very interesting. Request.get parameter. Yes, this is how you access what? Request parameter. You know how to access the parameter. There is no problem. From long you are doing. But we are getting the attribute now. Request.get attribute of email. Getting attribute from which scope? Which scope did you put? From there only you get. Don't put it in session and try to search it in request. You will not find. Clear? Where you put, there only you search. Then value of parameter. This is SOP. It will print to console. But understand, the same value, 2 values which are there in request of in first servlet is accessible in second servlet. So that is the concept here. And okay, that's it. I'm printing. Nothing more I'm doing. Hello, mister. Your email is. That's it. So this is forwarding. See how the forwarding happens now? So I'll make the request. I have to deploy it. So I'll do one thing. We'll remove some more applications. Is this clear to you now? First servlet. Yeah. Enter.html comes to first servlet. Then it goes to second servlet. That's it. Done. So I'll deploy it. /enter.html. See, if you want clarity, just I'll execute for clarity purpose. I'll execute in outside the browser, nothing else. So I'll type here enter.html. Please enter your details. So this is HTML. So as soon as I type my name, it goes to first servlet actually. Look at the URL, it will be FST. But first servlet is forwarding to what? Second servlet. See, the URL is first FST. It went to first servlet. But that is going again sending it to second servlet. And second servlet is giving you the display. Hello Mr. Ravi, your email is clusterindia.com. this is from second servlet. But what is the concept? See, Ravi is a value which went as a parameter. Email is a value which was set as attribute. So and learn concepts like this. Clear? Output you'll understand. There's not a problem. Clear? So that's how it works. If you want again, see the code. Enter.html where it goes to first servlet. First servlet is just putting that email and forwarding it to second servlet. Nothing more it did. Second servlet got both the values and printed. But understanding how to use request dispatcher, very important entry question. Okay, like this you can do forwarding to any number of servlets. That is very interesting. Okay, like here see, the forwarding can happen to first servlet. Okay, then it can go to what? Second servlet. Just giving you an idea. Third servlet. Why I am giving this example means fourth servlet, and assume that fourth servlet gives back the response. So what do you understand here? In this, what concept can you understand? Output you can get, it's not a problem now. From second servlet you'll forward it to third servlet, from third servlet you'll forward it to fourth servlet will give the output like this one you can do. What concept you are understanding? The scope of request object is, request and response object is alive in what? All the four servlets. That is very crucial here. How long is the request and response object going to be alive? Yes or no? So till now you are saying request and response object was alive for only one request and response. True, it is still continuing. So the request and response objects are alive till the response is given back. Till now this was your coding. You used to make a request to one servlet, say hello servlet or something, and it used to give back the response. That is why your request and response objects were getting destroyed. Okay. See earlier, okay, assume that you have coded some servlets. This is first servlet. Then again, this is second servlet. Then again, third servlet. So that is why they are all getting what? New request and response object. See, this is one request. This is one request 1. This is response 1. This is request 2. This is response 2. This is request 3. So this is response 3. So there are 3 requests. But here there is a single request. So that's why the request and response objects will be alive in all the 4 servlets, and the same values are accessible what? In all the servlets. Same, if it is a parameter you can get it here also, here also, here also, here also. If it's an attribute you have set, you can get it wherever you want. Clear? So that is why the scope of request and response object is what? One request and one response. I'm not telling single servlet. I'm telling what? One request and one response. So till the response is given back, you can keep on using the request and response object and their values. Clear? So this is how it will go. Are you clear the concept then? Why it is used, where it is used? Later. Understood? But this is how the values will get carried from one component to another component. You'll store in some scopes, and that's how the value you'll carry to another servlet. Because what will happen now, you'll be having values in servlet. The same value you want it in what? Another servlet. So this is how problems you'll start facing. Okay, the values are there in one servlet, the same value will be needed in what? Another servlet. You decide in which scope you want to put, either in request scope or context scope or session scope. Clear? Fine. So we'll be seeing with more practical examples. But the concept of forward is this. Clear? Okay. So next we'll see what is include. Include is used for what, you know? Including one servlet in another servlet. That's it. You're including. Here forward means control will move away. That's it. Control will not come back. But in include what will happen? See this. Everything remains same, but only instead of forward we'll say include. That's it. So this is your enter.html. That is okay. Sorry, yeah. It will display enter your name. And you'll log in or submit or whatever it is. So now the request will come. It's coming to what now? First servlet. That is okay. This is first servlet. But what is first servlet going to do now? It will not forward the request to second servlet. Instead, it will include it. Means if you want to use a logic of second servlet in first servlet, I want to use it. Okay. So now what I'll do? I will include it. I'll not forward the request. So it will be, this is what include does. Request dispatcher RD is equal to, same thing, request dot get, request dispatcher, you have to give the URL, that is mandatory. Everything remains same, but I'll only say now RD dot include, request comma response. This is do get or do post, whatever it is. So what exactly happens? Now this include method also will invoke which one? It's a method like M1 calling M2 like that. So what will include method do? It will invoke service. Service will invoke do get. So do get will get executed. So you have to send the arguments here also. Otherwise how will the servlet's service method execute? Okay. So after completion of all this logic, what will happen? Control comes back and continues execution here. But in forward what will happen? Control will never come back. Completely it is forwarded. But in include what happens? Control will come back. Means it's like you have written simple way I'll tell. You got some methods. M1 is there. M1 is there. M2 is there. M3 is there. Some 3 methods are there. Now I'll call M2 here. We'll take only 2 methods. M2 is there. Okay, it's something like this now. So when M1 invokes M2, after M2 completes execution, control will continue execution, same. Understood? It will continue execution. So if you have any other lines after this, it will execute. But forward is not like that. Forward is not like that. That is why you should use forward in the last line always. Because if you use it in the middle, what will happen? Control will move away and the below lines of code will not be executed. So forward should be always used in the last line. I'll just comment it here. rd.forward. You have to use it in the, if at all you want to use it. It should be used in the last line. If at all you want to use it. But this can be used where? Any line. First line, second line, third line. Whenever you want to include that logic, call it. Understood? That is the difference now. So there are some more differences. What is the difference between forward and include? Forward dispatches the request from one component. Component means what? Either servlet or JSP also. Right now I am teaching you servlet. Okay, it is applicable to even JSP. So forward method is used for dispatching the request from what? One servlet to another servlet, or one servlet to another JSP, or one JSP to another JSP, or one JSP to another servlet. You can do so much of forwarding. I showed you the example forward only. Servlet to, see, forwarding can be done like this. When you use forward, you can forward, from where to where? From one servlet to, first one, from one servlet to another servlet. I'll give you examples for all, you don't have to worry. Okay, other one would be one servlet to another JSP. Third one can be one servlet to, one JSP to another JSP. Likewise, one JSP to another servlet. So like this you can do what? Forwarding. And I covered only one. Others are examples I'll give. Other I can show you only after completing JSP. I'll show it to you there. Clear? That's how the forward works. But include is used for what, including either a servlet or a JSP. You can include either a servlet or a JSP in what? Either a servlet or a JSP. Means you can include a servlet inside a servlet, or you can include a JSP inside a servlet, or you can include JSP inside a JSP, or you can include servlet inside a JSP. Understood? So that's how it works. Yeah? So simple it is. That's it. Forwarding means completely moving away, but including means including. Now see, now when you say forward, some more differences now. Okay. We'll see the output first. We'll see the output first, then we'll discuss about what? Forward and include. Output we'll see first. Shall I clear this? Yeah, the concept is similar. We'll have on first page as enter.html in the and yes, we are referring to this 22nd example now. Request dispatcher include. Okay, so in request dispatcher include, I opened which one? Enter.html. And see this now. Please enter your name. That's it. Nothing else here. So it comes to FST means first servlet. In first servlet, yes, you can get the value. I'm saying I'm getting the request dispatcher, but I'm saying include this time. So when I say include, it will execute which one? First. It will go there. It will execute second servlet. It is executing. So here also I got some output. So that is also included here. It will execute that first. Then control comes back and executes this logic also. So both the output you'll see. Clear? So we are including. So let's see this output first. Deploy it. I'll show you outside the browser only. In the outside browser I'm showing you. Please enter your details. So actually this request will go to what? First. But you can see even second servlet is getting executed as well as first servlet. So first let us see this one now. Printing from second servlet. Hello Mr. Ravi. This is output from second servlet. So first that got executed and then it is printing hello Mr. Ravi. This is from first servlet. See this? So when I made the request, it went to first servlet. Value of parameter, you can get it. You can get the value. SOP you want, you can see it in the which one? Server console. That you can see. Understood? So then after that what happens? We got and forwarded to second servlet. Here also I can get what? The parameter. I can use that same parameter. That's up to you whether you want to use or leave it. But I showed you can access that value. I'm doing out.println. So this is the output you saw first. Printing from second servlet. Hello Mr. This is from second servlet. That's the same output you are seeing here. Printing from second servlet. Hello Mr. Ravi. This is the output from second servlet. Okay. Then control will come back to first servlet and it will start printing hello Mr. This is from first servlet. You will see this output. Hello Mr. Ravi. This is from first servlet. Understood? But the color it is taking from second servlet. Color it is not taking from first servlet because once the out.println means when the pw.println was finished, okay, the color was means the body was taken from second servlet. But other contents will be added. Other contents of first servlet, whatever you are having apart from color will be added in the output. Clear? So this is how it goes on executing. So this is how what works now? Include works. And see after include I can write some lines of code like this. But don't do it after forward. Yes. Now let's come to the differences. So as I told you, it contains two important methods, forward and include. Yes. That's all. Only two methods are there. And forward method. This method forwards the request from one resource. Like, see I'm writing servlet or JSP to another resource like servlet or JSP. Means the combination would be what? Servlet to servlet or servlet to JSP. Or JSP to servlet or JSP to JSP. That would be the combination. Yeah, I showed you an example for servlet to servlet. We'll be seeing other examples. Then next, include method. This method includes one resource like servlet or JSP into another resource. Means you will be including either a servlet or JSP inside either a servlet or JSP. Same combination. You will include servlet inside a servlet or JSP inside a servlet or JSP inside a servlet inside a JSP or JSP inside a JSP. You can include it. That's up to you. Yes, now the differences. When forward is used in a servlet or JSP, request will not come back to the calling servlet or JSP. Yes, when the forward is used. But when include is used, control will come back to the calling servlet or JSP. It will come back. The next, forward should be used in the last line of the servlet. Include can be used in any line. This is one more important difference. Using forward, we can only move to one servlet. rd.forward means it will go to only one servlet or JSP. But include, I can include any number of servlet or JSPs now. In one servlet I can include how many servlets? Any number of servlets. See here I included one servlet. In first servlet I am including how many? 1. If at all I want, I can go on including any number. Third, fourth and all that. All servlets will be included into what? First servlet. But if you are forwarding, only one servlet you have to give. Only one name. Are you clear with the difference? So that is how these two become very important interview questions. And you will be using it in projects. When you use it, you will only understand why it is used, where it is used and all that. Done? Clear. But it is used for moving from one component to another component. One servlet to another servlet. Like this. Okay, put the next heading as difference between forward and send redirect. This is also 100% interview question or 1000% interview question. Understood? 100%. Definite. No interview is going to be complete without these questions. So let's see the difference between forward and send redirect. Clear? You know forward. Okay. You know already forward. It is used for dispatching the request from one servlet to another servlet, or one servlet to another JSP, or one JSP to another JSP, or one JSP to another servlet. So now we'll see what is send redirect. Yeah. So yes, but the similarity is both these methods are used for sending the request from one component to another component. Similarity, from one servlet you'll go to another servlet only. But what is the difference? You have to understand. And yeah, I'll show you an example. First basic difference is send redirect method is there in what? HTTP servlet response. That's the first basic difference. So I'll forward is where now? RequestDispatcher, and send redirect is there in HTTP servlet response. I'll give an example. Let's see this. Sometimes it so happens you know there's a company called as Compaq. There's a company called as Compaq. Okay. So one company will keep buying another company. Just I'm giving a real time scenario now. One company will take over another company. So when they take over that company, that URL will not be there now. Yes or no? So if you type www.compaq.com, what will happen? Company is closed now. So they cannot display what now? Compaq has been taken over by whom now? HP company. Okay, HP needs business and they want to continue with what? Compaq customers. So if you type by chance www.compaq.com, you will, what is the answer you are expecting? You are a layman. See, we are computer people, we know. Compaq has been taken over by HP and all that. So we directly log into what? HP only. But there are so many other users who don't know which company has taken over whom and all that. Okay. Like this, even so many mechanical companies will happen, banks will happen. Now we are IT people, we will not be aware of that. But we just type what? The URL like this. So what is the answer you are expecting here? Company is closed, huh? Huh? You bought a brand new laptop 2 days back. Now HP has taken over Compaq. What will happen now? Warranty. Some problem with your laptop. Means you want to interact now. So in this is the case, what happens? So what they do, see, HP people will have one server and Compaq people will have one server. Yes or no? So this is one server now, and means they'll be having their own server, they'll be having their own application, they'll deploy it. So let us say this is some machine and this is server 1 now. Some other, it is a Compaq server and they'll have what? Their own application. They'll have their own application. Now when the response is given, okay, see what we do right now is, user will type, but here we'll write some logic. I'll tell you what logic we write. As soon as the request is done, response will be given to the user. It will be given. We'll write what logic, just one line of code we'll write. And automatically it will be redirected to another domain only. Which domain? Say this is HP server now. And you'll be having your application here. So you can give a message like telling what? Hello Mr. User, welcome to HP. Welcome to HP. HP takes over Compaq. Some message like this you can give and make the user feel comfortable. Please continue. What do you want to do? Like this, you can give some options now. Next button. Some buttons you give now. It's more ideal. Understood? But imagine you want to, a request is coming to an application now. That application has to redirect the request to what? Another server. It has to redirect the request to another application in another server. Means a totally different domain. So here what code we write? Question is that now. Assuming that both are servlets only. This one servlet, this one servlet now. Okay. So here what will happen? What code you will write? Assuming that this application agreed. This is your HP application, and assuming that the name of this is first servlet, and assuming that this is second servlet. Simply I am giving some name, but they will be giving some good names. Understood? So here in first servlet what you will do? You have the do get or do post. Sorry, this is compact application. In the compact application, here it is HP application. Compact server, compact application. Yeah, here what will you do? Response dot send redirect. You use this method, but you have to give the full path. Absolute path you have to give. Means the complete URL of what? HP. Okay. So what are the complete URL you have to give? Clear? So this I will be showing you. Means you have to give the full path like HTTP. Example I am writing / localhost :8090 / if the name of this application is HP app / what is the URL for this? Second select would be SED. That's what you are doing. That's it. Just I am giving a sample example like this, but it will be like www.hp.com / something like that, because this URL I will be using here now. That's the reason I wrote it. Clear? So here what happens? The request will go to first when the user types, it will go to one application, means to one server, in one server, and again that will be response will be given. User will not make the second request. The second request is automatically generated now. It is automatically generated. What is this method going to do now? It will give back the response, and in the header this URL will be coming automatically. So you will be typing this /fst or something like this, but automatically it will make the request for second select and it will give back the response to you now. Yeah. So this is how, this is how it is used practically. This is how the redirect is used practically. But I am showing you how in my example, very simple. What I will be doing in my example is we will make a request to enter.html. We are not going to another server. We will be there in the same server only now. So I will make a request to which one now? First servlet. First servlet what it will do, it will give back the response, and again it will display what? This is one request, one response 1, request 2, response 2, request 3, response 3. Clear? But the second request user will not do only. You will make the request and submit. This request will enter the value and the response is given. This request will not be done by you. Automatically it will be generated and it will execute what? Second servlet. So I am keeping the resource in the same server. That's it. But here I have to give what? Full path, absolute path. What path I give? HTTP / localhost :8090 / if the application name whatever my app /SED. So this value you have to give in what? Response dot send redirect. Clear? That's the concept. So we'll see the output of this first, and then we'll see other things. Clear? So why you'll be using is one reason. One of the major reason why you use send redirect is if you want to go from your application to another domain. That is one reason. One more reason is there. I'll tell you that. So when you're writing web applications, plenty of problems you'll get, but solution to all your problems are very, very simple and in a method. That's it. In simple methods you'll find all your answers. Just call the method. You should only know where's that logic now. So the next example we'll see now is send redirect. See, this is enter.html. Enter your name, same example I am taking. We'll follow with the same example. Request comes to first servlet. Everything perfect. You can get the name, everything you can get. Yes, then I'll say response.sendRedirect. So it will go to SCD now. But what is happening now? Response is given. Okay, you got some output here, see this, but you'll never see this output. Why? The browser is so fast in making the second request, you'll never see this output only. Sometimes you can see. Okay, when you make a request, you'll get the response. Slowly it will refresh itself and the second request will be generated. And then you'll go back, you'll see the next response. That second request will never be made by you. You'll only see the refreshing thing. But here you'll not see the refreshing thing because it's all in the same machine. You got that idea now? When you make the first request, when you type www.compact.com, one response will come to you. One response will come to you. Once the response comes to you, next what will happen? Automatically it will refresh itself. And then the second request will be generated. It goes and gives back the response. So same things here. We'll see this. We are forwarding to sendRedirect, but the most important thing now, in the second servlet, you will not find the parameters. This is the most important difference because the response was given and a new request has been coming to the second servlet. So the request object will be a new object, and if you say request.getParameter of enemy in the second servlet, you will get a null value. So that is why the difference between forward and sendRedirect is the most important interview question. Understood? The scope of request and response object. See this, I'll get the output for you. Be careful with the URL now. See this, the URL html/enter.html. I have made the request. Look at the URL. Here also I'll show view source. What it should generate? FST. Correct? See, here it is very fast. You can't notice. As soon as I press enter now, response is given as well as other request has happened. You can't notice it. In real applications, web applications, when you see work on live now, there the response will be in refreshing will be happening. Look at the URL actually what it is. SCD it is. Actually in the URL form action was what? FST. But now you can see the URL is SCD. Actually that page got displayed. First select got displayed. And then another request has gone with the URL called as SCD. It's happening very fast because it's local machine. Clear? So and the second select is getting displayed. See this printing from second select. This is output from second select. So first select output you will never see here. What is output of first select? Hello mister, this is from first. You are not seeing the output. The request you can see it's printing from means second request point and it's printing from here. And request.getParameter of enemy. I'm trying to print SOP. Now see what is there in the console. In first select you can find Ravi, but in second select if I print, null it is printing. Because its second select is getting a new request object. Clear? And that's why it's a very important interview question. So that's how it works now. Okay. Means, see this is how it will happen. A response will be, this is HTML. You'll ask the user to enter name and you'll submit. And again it is going to first servlet. Okay. So then automatically, actually if it is some other site, so you can see that refreshing. Second refresh will happen and automatically a second request will be generated. Here also the same thing is happening, but it is very fast. So it will go to second servlet and second servlet is actually giving back the response. So second servlet will have its own set of request response object now. And first servlet will have its own set of request and response object. So that's why in this request object you will have enemy. But here enemy will not be present. Yes or no? How can you find enemy here? In this request object, enemy will not be there. Only here you will be finding enemy. It will be not there in the second servlet because it's a new request. This is request 1 you can take and response 1. This is request 2 you can take, response 2. Means here also request is there. Just I'm only talking about these two servlets. Yeah? That's why it's a very important equation. So now they'll ask you, sometimes they'll ask, the question will be very tricky. They'll ask, I want to go from one servlet to another servlet, but I do not want my values in the request object to be available in the next servlet. See how tricky the question is. So that time I'll be using which one? sendRedirect method. If I want to go from one servlet to another servlet, but I do not want to carry the values in the request object, so I'll use sendRedirect. So response will be given and then the request will go to next servlet. But true, values are lost. It will be destroyed. Okay. Sometimes you'll have to separate tasks like this. Okay. One task you want to separate from another task. That time you'll be doing what? sendRedirect. Okay, so you'll understand when you develop applications. So two reasons is when you want to separate some tasks. Two reasons why you use sendRedirect is, one is when you want to separate some task. Second reason would be when you want to go from one domain to another domain. Okay, from one application to another application. That's you want to go from. So these are the two reasons you'll be using sendRedirect. Clear? So fine. But I have shown you in the same server. If you want, you can try deploying another application in the same server. Understood? Another application you deploy and you can redirect it to another application also. But in real time what will happen? They will be redirecting it to another application in another server. Definitely compact application and HP application will not be there in the same server now. So they will be writing it in different servers. So let's see the differences between which one? Forward and sendRedirect. Definite interview question. Similarity is what? Both these methods are used for forwarding from one component to another component. But difference? Plenty is there. You got the forward here. So difference between forward and sendRedirect. This side you got the forward, that side you got the redirect. The first basic difference of forward is a method in RequestDispatcher. sendRedirect is a method in HTTP servlet response. It works completely in the server side. Forward, yes or no? The server side only it will be moving. Okay, that works on what? Client side. Which one? sendRedirect will be working on client side. Response will be first given to the client and then the request will come to the next component from the client by generating the URL. Scope of request and response object is alive. That's the primary difference. These two are vital differences. Okay. It sends the same request and response object to the next component. Their scope of request and response object is not alive and we get a new request and response object in the next component. Now we can use the relative path for forwarding. When you say rd.forward, I'll give only SCD. That is what? A relative path. But there you have to use absolute path for redirecting. Full path you have to give. HTTP look, because where is the other application running? Because the client has to generate the request now. So if the client has to generate the request to your application, it needs the full path. Where is the server? Understood? Where is the application? In the application, which resource you want to access? Full path you have to give. Fine. The request can be transferred to another resource only within the same server. The request can be transferred to another resource both within and outside the server. I showed you the example for within the server. Yes or no? The request can be transferred to another resource both within and outside the server. The example which I gave was within the server. But from one server you can go to another server also. Fast and efficient. This is very slow. Little slow because you think real time. supposing you are browsing online Gmail and all that, their internet might be slow. So that time what happens, one request you make, response is given, refresh has to happen automatically, then the request has to be generated, then you have to get the next response. But remember, user will be making only single request, but he will be getting the response from the another resource. So these are the differences between forward and send redirect. This one diagram I have put, diagram for forward. Forwarding, what will happen? Completely server side. Okay, client will not play any role only. He has made a request, that's it. We get back the response. Now this is the diagram for what? Send redirect. Just change the method. Send redirect now. What is the method name? Yeah, so client will play a major role in generating the second request. Are you clear with all this? A definite interview questions. Fine. So we completed that. So now we will see one more last example, and almost all we are at the end of servlet now. Okay, here I am just want to introduce one tag to you, nothing else. There is one tag called as welcome file. So you know you have got login.html, correct? Nothing, very simple. I'll enter the name and password, it will tell what? Hard coded, I'm not connecting to database. So it will go to check, URL will be generated, and it will go to web.xml, check, login, first select. It will go to first select, which one? Login select. Login select will tell what now? Welcome or not welcome. Very simple program, I'm not making it complicated. If the username is Ravi and password is Amog, it will tell welcome and not welcome, that's it. But look, I used one tag called as welcome file list. Inside the welcome file list, one more tag is there called as welcome file. So welcome file list is one more child tag of web app. Okay, and welcome file is a child tag of welcome file list. When you go to interview, definitely they'll ask you to write all the tags you know in web.xml. Practice it. I've got plenty of tags. Okay, so one more tag which I'm teaching you today is welcome file list, welcome file. Clear? Plenty of tags are covered. See servlet, servlet name, servlet class, servlet name, servlet mapping, all these tags. Then init param, context param, session config, session timeout. So like that, plenty I've covered. All these tags you should know. Finally, in my document, I'll give you all the tags classified and what tag will do what. But in the interview, it's a definite question. Fine. See, what is the effect of this? That's what you have to understand. See, very simple. See, this time I'll deploy this application. Fine. See now, clearly understand, if at all you want to make the request to your HTML, from outside the servlet you do. Don't do it within the Eclipse. You will not understand the concept. Okay. So this last example you work from outside only. Any browser, no problem. If at all you want to make a request to your HTML, what were you typing? Localhost, all that is okay. Application name, all that is okay. Okay. But I have to type what? HTML/ login.html, no. Now no need of typing that. Simply I'll press the application name, that's it. Localhost and what? 8090, the server. In the server, which application? I'm only giving the name of the application, that's it. Understood? So if you configure like this, directly the HTML will be displayed. Don't do run as on which one? That is the support of what? Eclipse. Don't select HTML file here and say run as run on server. That is the support of Eclipse given to you for not typing the URL. Don't get confused. Understood? So that's the support of Eclipse given to you. But here what I am trying to say is, say I am opening one browser. See, this one browser I'll open now. I'll close all the tabs. Okay, see I am opening Internet Explorer and I want to type something like the application name. Just type the application name. Like later on you'll be doing this only. www.gmail.com, www.clusterindia.com, like that you'll type. So that is why you'll have always a welcome file. See, this will be converted into one name, don't worry. Like how you have Gmail and all now, what is finally Gmail is mapped to what? One IP address, one server, one application. In the DNS server they'll map it. So when finally all this will be resolved, and you'll be typing what? Only www dot, supposingly if it is cluster website, cluster.com, that's it. So you'll only type the application name. Once you type it, automatically the first page will come like this. So that's the advantage of using what? Welcome file. So all your applications will have welcome file. And here you'll enter your name and password. Now application will continue. I'll enter Ravi and Amog. It will work perfectly. Clear? Clear this? So that's how it works. So in for doing that, what you'll be doing is in web.xml you'll type welcome file list like this. Done? And welcome file. One more tag you'll be writing. And all this okay. Now, but here one thing is there. If you are using welcome file list, use single dot in your HTML. Otherwise it will not work. You have to use single dot. In HTML now, till now you are giving what? From HTML to SciLater. Double dot. Understood? So better you use single dot. Otherwise it will not work. That's it. That's one thing what you have to understand here. Okay. Now that single dot, double dot, you don't worry. There is no standard rule here. Sometimes double dot you have to use in some server. Sometimes you have to use single dot in some server. Okay. One server will have one implementation. So just follow it. If you are getting the output, start continuing coding. That's it. Do not make a big issue out of what? Single dot and double dot. It's all about navigating. Clear? So fine. So this is one thing. And for understanding this example, don't execute from where? Inside Eclipse. Don't execute it from inside Eclipse. Execute it from outside Eclipse. And just you have to type what? I'm repeating it. See, only you'll be typing what? The application name. That's it. Localhost 8090, the application name. That's it. 24 welcome file is the name of the application. That's it. Means I typed the wrong password. Done? So if you want, you can add this feature also into your application. So for that tag you understood now? Yeah, that's it. Okay, that's it now.